All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. How you doing today? Sounds pretty good. So this week, we are going to discuss the interrogation of Rocky Rambo Wei Nam Kam. And Rocky Rambo is from Hong Kong. Well, hold on, let me turn the gong off. He's from Hong Kong. He is addicted to playing video games. He's an axe murderer. He has a degree in economics. What else? Seemed to have a good, loving family. After high school, he moved to Calgary, Canada. His brother and his family lived there. Then after not being able to find a job, he moved to Vancouver, Canada. Still no luck finding a job. At some point, he went to a Canadian Tire hardware store and bought an axe and a knife and some gloves and a black hat. And then 2 weeks later, he went into a couple in their 60s, the Joneses, and he murdered them with the axe and the knife. And when law enforcement got there, the axe was in the yard and the knife was there and the gloves. There was a print of certain gloves, and the hat was there, and the Joneses' car was gone. And so they do a little simple detective work, and they trace the axe back to Canadian Tire. Then they go to Canadian Tire, and they say, can you look this up? And they do, and it was the only axe like that purchased in recent time and for this Canadian Tire. So they easily pulled up the footage of Rocky Rambo Wei Nam Kam just moseying into the store to buy an axe and some gloves and a knife and a black hat. And so they were like, well, that's definitely him, because that was pretty easy. But they didn't know who he was, so they set up surveillance all around the neighborhood, and all of a sudden, one of the surveillance patrol units sees him go into the bank. So after he leaves, they go into the bank and they say, who was that guy? And I'm sure the bank was like, that is Rocky Rambo Wei Nam Kam. And I was laughing at the thought of the detectives being, okay, we don't have time for offensive, stereotypical, fake Asian names. We really need to know what his name was. They're like, his name is Rocky Rambo Wei Nam Kam. I'm like, oh, okay. And then a short time after that, as you can imagine, they arrested the crap out of Rocky Rambo at a bus stop. Rocky Rambo said he was on his way to buy some new pants and shoes. Nothing is worse than when a new pants day is interrupted by your axe murder charges. It just throws everything off. It's like, he says it in the interrogation, I had things to do today. I was going to get new pants, but you guys are going to hold me here, so I just have to wait. And so, the thing that I don't understand really about this one, and the interrogator, the female interrogator, gets a lot of criticism by everyone in the comments of this interrogation. But I don't think they set themselves up for success they arrested Rocky at the bus stop and charged him with murder. And then in Canada, you talk to the lawyer before an interrogation, or you can stop the interrogation. The way I understand it is you talk to a lawyer for a little bit on the phone before, and then in the interrogation, if you want to talk to a lawyer, I guess if you didn't before, you can. That's there. And so I'm sure when he talked to the lawyer, he said, yeah, I'm charged with 2 counts of axe murder. And the lawyer said, okay, they're going to hold you and don't say anything. If you're already charged, I don't see how it makes sense. Like if you look at the Russell Williams interrogation, if they would have just brought him in at the very jump and said, we're charging you with all these murders, they wouldn't have gotten the confession. The way they got the confession is they made him think, if you can come up with a realistic story, if you talk, you may get to go home. You may get to go home and play those sweet, sweet video games, Rocky Rambo. But if they would have just said, Russ, underwear, Russ underwear. We're charging you. We got evidence. We got more evidence than you got underwear in your drawer, okay? You're charged. He probably would have just shut up. And so that's what the first thing I don't really understand is, yeah, she didn't get the full-on confession. I'll argue that she gets pretty dang close deep into the interrogation, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. But what motivation does Rocky have? He's charged already. I feel like he's coming to terms with being charged and held. It's a 9-hour interrogation. Already an hour into the interrogation, he's, I think, realizing, okay, I'm not going anywhere. No matter what I say, I'm not going anywhere. So he's just is starting to come to terms with it instead of going through the roller coaster that the interrogator is hoping to bring him on. He's more just wondering, like, I wonder if the mattress in the cell is going to be comfortable. But let's get into it. He's in the hot seat. It's a nice blue painted interrogation room. There's a little circular table. And I don't know if it's satisfying or makes me feel strange, but it's a round circular table that they just sawed off one side of the circle so it sits flat against the wall. So there's a strange circle with a flat side table. Rocky's in there. He's got blue basketball shorts, a New England Patriots hoodie. It's always interesting to me is, what is the last outfit that you're ever going to wear? Patriots hoodie and basketball shorts. Never made the new pants. Bummer. So he's sitting in there, basketball shorts, flip-flops, blue hoodie, table. She comes in, or first they always have, in Canada, they always have someone come in and ask them questions on the record, like, did anyone beat your ass when they arrested you? Oh, no, okay, see, it's on record. You were treated nicely. And there's always a little, and then I think her name's Leah, the female interrogator comes in. And like I said, she gets a lot of criticism, and I think her strategy, at least at first, is you've heard of good cop, you've heard of bad cop. Well, she's playing mom cop. It almost sounds like a horrible 90s movie. Like, this summer, she's a cop. Everybody get down. But she's also your mom. Aw, Mom. This summer, mom cop. So she goes full mom cop on him, which I don't know if it works, but all right, let's just get into it. So she's got the mom tone. He's already sitting there charged with a piece of paper that said he's charged with murder. So again, I'm not sure what motivation he has to play the game. And, okay, so starts. Do you know why you're here? After some pleasantries. Do you know why you're here? And she's the kind of the mom tone and questions. He's a smart guy. And so some of the mom tones, like, whoa, that is so, kind of are lost on Rocky. Like, she goes, do you know why you're here? And so kind of showing that he thinks it's a dumb question. He picks up the piece of paper and he goes, they charged me with 2 counts of murder. I'm arrested. And she goes, do you know those people? He says, no. She goes, do you watch the news? No. And then she goes, okay. So I guess you could say this is the first strategy. Okay, so she says, Rocky, we're talking to many people. We've seen you in the neighborhood, and that's why. So seeing him in the neighborhood is why, among other reasons. So we've seen that strategy before. So, which is all well and good if someone thinks that maybe they're going home. But if we're saying, we're holding you, we're charging you, you are done. Now, would you like to talk to us? So she's trying to do the, don't you want to know the other reasons? And Rocky's kind of just already, he's talked to the lawyer. His whole strategy, as you'll see, I'm probably going to say it 400 times, is he just pretty much says, I nothing to say. He'll do kind of like a, I have nothing to say. I don't want to talk about it. I have nothing to say. And that's all well and good to go with the I have nothing to say route, and it's smart, and that's probably what everybody should do. But what Rocky does is any question about his family, any question about his life, any question other than the couple that he murdered with an axe, he has a lot to say. So it comes off as pretty guilty to just, yeah, this is my family, the whole thing, whatever you want to know. I'm an open book. And then she'll switch it back. Okay, what about this guy? I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say. And so that's kind of the back and forth for a while, to the point where I'm sitting here like thinking, okay, this is an interesting interrogation to watch, but how am I going to explain this? It's just a woman using a mom voice and a 25-year-old man saying, I have nothing to say. But let's keep going. So she tries to do the, all right, well, we've seen you in the neighborhood, and that's why, among other things, to try to get him going, but Rocky just has nothing to say. And so she pulls a big picture out of the couple, slides it over. And she goes, here, do you recognize them? And again, instead of keeping the same tone of like, I have nothing to say with his family, it's like I said, he'll talk, he'll ramble on, and then she'll show him a picture of the couple or the axe, and he'll just go, and she goes, are you neighborly? Are they neighborly with you? He goes, I don't want to talk about it. And she goes, okay, well, seeing that picture obviously brings up some emotion. I have nothing to say. All right, so she's easing in with the, okay, we have a lot of stuff, and May, do you recognize them? And I would say at this point, it's not going well for Rocky, because like I said, it doesn't look great to have everything to say until the murder victims, and then to just clam up. But again, I think he's just smart enough to know there's nothing he can say to help. The lawyer probably told him not to say, so he's just sticking with the plan. And so she's trying to just ask him questions. Well, if you do know them, I'd like to know now, or if you have a relationship. And again, as you can imagine, he has nothing to say. And then she sort of backs off. What little pressure she was going with, she backs off, and this is more of the, like, I'm a mom, I'm getting to know you, let's open him up a little bit. And so they say, do you need anything? And he wants some food, which I could not eat in that situation. If I was thinking, dang, I'm probably never going to be free again because I'm an axe murderer and I got caught, I would not be hungry. But he's hungry. Also, too, Rocky has a nervous laughter where he laughs a lot. Pretty much similar to like the Joker, where he's just sitting there laughing. And it drives the interrogator crazy at times. Not really early, but as it's going and she's getting frustrated and he's just laughing, there's a lot of, is that funny? Do you think that's funny? Which also happened in trial. They asked, Rocky took the stand in his trial, which he hasn't been sentenced yet, but he took the stand in trial and they asked him, why did you take their car? And he just started laughing up on the stand or smiling. And again, they was like, is that funny? And he goes, no, that's not funny. And so, but he does laugh a lot, I think, in awkward situations. I have nothing to say. But also, he is an axe murderer, and I think a psycho. And there are moments in this interrogation that I think he thinks are legitimately funny. Like one of them, she pulls out a picture of the axe that he used. Probably brings back some memories and some feelings to see it. So she slides it over. Boom. The axe. He goes, I have nothing thing to say. And there's a little time. Someone had written the time on the picture of the axe in military time, and it came up that she was like, do you understand military time? Or I don't know, this is probably going to come up tomorrow in the interrogation, but she goes, you understand military time? Just in that mom cop voice. Just, wow, that is so interesting. Not a lot of people understand military time, and you do. Wow. And Rocky is looking at her like, think of that situation. They're looking at a blown up picture of the axe that he used to kill a couple in their 60s, and she's going, oh my God, you understand military time. That is cool. And Rocky, as you can imagine, has the attitude of like, it's not that cool. Don't most people, he's probably thinking, I played so much Counter-Strike, lady. Of course I understand military time. But she's going, wow, that's so cool. Man, you understand military time. Anyway, can we talk about this axe? And he just starts laughing like, like, what, lady? It's to talk about something that mundane. Just military time is cool. And then like, well, anyway, that's wild. So the axe. It is a little funny. So she's telling him later in the interrogation, that nervous laugh you have you got to work on that. That's awkward. And I agree, it's not the best quality to have, but I would argue that some of the times he's just laughing. He just is literally laughing at the whole thing. He's an axe murderer, so maybe has certain qualities to be able to laugh and eat when a lot of people couldn't. All right, so let's keep on moving. So they say, do you need anything? He's hungry. How about a sandwich? He says, good. What do you like? Chicken sandwich? He's like, yeah, I like anything. Then he later complains about the sauce on the sandwich. It's like, Rocky, this is probably the last good. They go to a restaurant to get it. This is the last good sandwich you're probably ever going to have. So to complain about the mustard. All right, so they get him. Then she switches from we got a lot of evidence, bro, to let's get to know each other. And it turns into a weird first sandwich date at this point. So she's getting a lot of the information I've already told you guys. He lived in Hong Kong. He moved to Canada. Can't find a job. And she's trying to get him maybe to go down the road of like, it's hard to be 25, you graduate, you don't know what to do, you can't find a job. That can put a lot of pressure on people. And he's just like, nah, I'm all right, I think. And she's like, really? When a lot of people feel a pressure when they're 25. And he's like, I don't know, I'm not most people. So all of her attempts to chalk it up to something very understandable, like he couldn't get a job and he was really sad, or his parents put tons of pressure on him, he had tiger parents, or she tries to go through all these things for this simple answer. And I think one, Rocky Rambo, Wayne Am Cam, is that kind of a cynical, retreated to video games, everything's bullshit attitude. So I don't think he would even let himself admit to himself that he's having a hard time. It's just, I'm okay type of everything he says, I'm okay. It's hard for other people, but and also too, I don't think he can communicate that well. He's pretty good at English, but it is his obvious second language. So I think that's a little bit of a barrier, but also even in his first language, I think it would be hard for Rocky Rambo, Wayne Am Cam to explain a stomachache to you, let alone the intricacies of what makes him an axe murderer, if that makes any sense. Okay, so at that point, so she's trying to one, get on his side, being like, wow, the pressure of being 25 and not finding a job is hard. That does stuff to people, right? I'm a mom. I am mom cop. And then the guy, one of her buds, assistants, brings in the sandwiches. And now we enter the long, weird, a little bit sad first sandwich date. So they're getting there, and she's talking to him about his family. Like I said, the brother, his older brother has kids, lives in Calgary. She asks him, so do you want kids? He's sitting there eating the sandwich. All their weird thing, it's like cartoons. They keep taking bites of the sandwich, but the sandwich doesn't disappear. They're white. It's a restaurant sandwiches too are usually really messy. It's one of my big complaints with a lot of sandwiches in restaurants or burgers. Like burgers these days, you almost have to take a shower after you eat the burger. When did the burger need to be this thick? And after the first bite, the bun is just soggy. I don't know. Anyway, but they're sitting there doing the restaurant sandwich thing with crumbs and sauce. So there, and she's like, so you, the kids, do you want kids someday? And he's like, maybe. And she goes, yeah, you know, most people end up having them or wanting them. And he goes, yeah, I'm not most people. So just all of her mom cop strategies, I don't think are doing much. So he goes, I'm not most people. And then there's just this long silence where they're just eating a sandwich. It almost feels like when a date goes wrong and they're both people are sitting there going, well, this is not going to work. So I had a friend that would, on dates here in New York, because dating here in New York, you can line up a bunch of dates on the dating apps. So he had it. I would always just, if the date was going horrible, just suck it up and pretend and then not have a second date. But I had a friend that would mid-date just be like, you know what, this isn't working. Neither of us, I don't think, want to be here. I got the bill. Let's don't pretend and just keep this going. I always respected that. Shout out to my friend Zach. And all right, so long silence while they're just eating the sandwiches that take them an hour plus to eat, even though they're taking bites every 10 seconds. And so that's where the background mom cop, so tell me about your brother. That strategy kind of ends. It's long silence, eating the sandwiches, and she goes, What do you wish we knew about you, Rocky? And he goes, why? And she goes, well, you're arrested for 2 counts of murder. So, you know, you would think you would be sitting there wanting to tell us something, you know, if you had an alibi, or if most people in your situation would want to. And again, I think that's a great strategy if he's not already charged and knows that he's being held and was told by the lawyer you're going to be held and was, just he's been charged already, the way I understand it. So I don't know. What's the motivation? And then so she goes, I think, Rocky, and this is really the only thing she's working with at this point. Is this screensaver annoying? Let me just end it. The gong. Okay. She goes, Rocky, I have done this for a while, and I've been sitting here, and I've been sitting across from a lot of people in your situation, Rocky, and I think that it will benefit you emotionally to talk. It's like, lady, this guy is an axe murderer, okay? He's not looking to be healthy emotionally. He wants to go home, sit in his nice TV chair, throw on a video game. He doesn't care. He's already charged. What are we doing? I think it'll benefit you emotionally. All right, well, that would be like telling Mike Myers from the Halloween movies, the slashers, like, Mike, how you doing? I think that it would really benefit you emotionally to tell us why you're a killer on Halloween. He would just be like, I mean, he's an axe murderer. What do you want him to say? And she goes, I think it'd benefit you emotionally. And he just goes, I don't have anything to say. And she goes, I bet you'll change your mind. He goes, I don't think so. And so I think we're about an hour and 15 minutes in at this point. And this is probably my favorite part of this whole chunk, and it's pretty satisfying. And I think the one thing that they have on Rocky at this point is that he is impatient. He really wants to play video games. It would help the strategy a lot if he had a thought that if he just rambled and talked, maybe he could go home, because then you could trip him up and then bring in the evidence. But so he's impatient. All he wants to do is get out of this interrogation room, whether that's go to a cell. And so instead of, I don't know, I just feel like they didn't use that at all. And so he goes, how long are you going to hold me? And she goes, well, I got a lot of material. Right there, she could have been like, that depends. If you want to give me if you want to actually answer some of these questions instead of just saying I have nothing to say, then maybe we could get out of here. I don't want to be here either. We either want to move past you, or you gotta. But all she really has to say is, well, this is going to take a really long time, and I got a lot of stuff to show you. And the satisfying part about it is Rocky Rambo, who killed these poor people. So I almost want him to feel some sort of, he's sitting there just eating a sandwich, like, I have nothing to say. So it's like, come on, get him with a little pressure or something. And so it is satisfying to me to see him just squirming that he can't go play video games. He's like, how long are you going to hold me? And like, we got a lot of evidence, bro. And he goes, if you're going to hold me, I'm going to sleep in a cell, right? And she goes, mm-hmm. And this is the most I think that she is winning the exchange. All of a sudden she has this confidence, like, mm-hmm. He goes, I'm going to assume that they have a mattress, right? And she goes, why? He goes, just asking. And then they're sitting there, and she goes, what's your biggest concern? And I think she's asking, what's your biggest concern of like this whole thing? Losing your freedom, never playing games again. But he's still thinking about the mattress. Like, am I going to get to sleep on a mattress tonight? And she goes, what's your biggest concern? And he goes, if they're comfortable or not. And like I said, so already at this point, an hour and 15 minutes into a 9-hour interrogation, he's already just coming to the terms. Like, all right, I'm being held. I'm going to sleep in a cell. At least they have a mattress. And so her being like, if you tell me everything, it will benefit you emotionally. Huh? Something? Doesn't hold too much power, right? And, okay, so I got one more thing, and then I'm going to cut it off for today. And so he's sitting there, and they're going through just some questioning, and then finally he says, or she goes, do you have a question for me? He goes, yeah, it's not important. And she goes, no, what? What is it? And this is where he brings in, he's like, well, I had a lot of stuff to do today. And he brings up that he was going to get new pants, as a way to be like, well, I was going to get new pants today. But he even says, he goes, I have no power, and you're going to hold me, and I am just going to have to wait. And the female detective goes, I'm patient. And Rocky Rambo goes, I'm not. I want to play video games. And the female detective, this is one of my favorite lines she has the whole time. She goes, yeah, Rocky. We don't have a lot of video games here. That's true. He goes, yes, so I'm forced to not play video games and eat the food I want to eat. That kind of thing. And she goes, again, following up her best answer, she goes, yeah, that's true. That is one of the downsides. Your options get, wait, where is it? Shoot, did I just blow the final line? Dang it, this was supposed to be the big final line, folks. She goes, yeah, that's true. That's one of the downsides. Your options for what you get to do in your spare time get very limited. Something like that. I didn't really write it down that good, but something like that where she goes, yeah, that's kind of the thing, Rock. You don't get to do what you want to do ever again, in a way. She says it. And like I said, this, to me, that moment, she feels like she's very much in control, look, and Rocky is, you can just see him going, oh my gosh, I am not going to be able to play video games for a while. And you can see him just be like, dang it. And like I said, it's pretty satisfying. But we're going to pick it up tomorrow or the next day. Probably the next day. It's hot as hell in this apartment right now. Me and the landlord are going to put a couple window unit ACs in tomorrow. So next couple days, we'll pick it up. I hope that you are doing well. I'll see you next time. Why? Stive and why?